welcome back to the channel. We are moving on now to part 3 on the Lambretta trailer. In today's video, guys, we're going to be doing the artwork stages. We'll be dropping the base coats in first, so I'll go through them stages with you, and then we're going to move on to the artwork, and I'll show you the 2 pictures that we're going to be doing. So I'll move on into the studio in a minute. I just want to yeah, I've got to tell you, I was scouring on Facebook sales last night, having a little look through, and as you know, I'm a big iWater fan, and something out the corner of my eye just popped up. It was just like an icon, little bit of an airbrush, so I've clicked on it and I've picked up some iWater goodies this morning. I'll take you in there and I'll give you a little look. Yeah, had to get it, had to be done, so I'll pan round and I'll show you what I picked up. Right guys, we're moving on. I hope you like the little clip I put up. The airbrush is an iWater Eclipse. It's a side feed one, that's the brush that I picked up, and the compressor is a little Studio Series, iWater Studio Series portable, because I've not got a portable compressor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little trolley for that, so I've got like a little mobile unit that I can take out with me. So moving on, I've got all this set up. We're going to be dropping the base coats, and drop some white base coat on this, and it'll be mainly here and a little bit to the sides, because we're going to use a lot of this dark edge on this side. The way I'm going to get the images up, I'm going to project the images. So I'll project the image up first, get a rough outline of where I need the base coat, and then we can drop the base coat on that side, and then moving round to this side. The image on this one is going to be mainly here, and there's a bit of background. I can just push the background out on this either side, so I'll do the same again, project it up, and I can see where I'm going, where I need the white base. Right guys, I've set the projector up. The image may flicker a bit when I've turned the camera around, but I'll show you the first image that we're going to be doing, if that's picking that up. So we've got like the night there, and then you've got the background here. Because you've got a curve on this Lambretta panel, when I go to size this up and pull it back, his head goes right up and bows like that. So the way we get around that is, I'll find the distance of the projector on how big I want the image from the fine line there to there. I'll project it on a flat, go around the artwork and get the scale of it up on a piece of transfer tape, and then I can put the transfer tape on this, and then we can put the base coat in to fill this size. And then what I'll do is I'll resize this background, because I want this background to fill all this. So I'll pull the projector back and I'll just blow the back piece up to fill this gap, and then I can just go around and pencil in where I need these bits. So that's how I'll do that. Right guys, I've just put an outline onto the panel, just an outline of the image that we're going to be using, and I'm going to be using the PS2 910 by Griots. Always bang on about this brush, really good. Trigger control, it's got a fan pattern, 0.5 tip, and we're going to use Ford Frozen White, and it's a solvent base coat on this. I've got the extractor on, so we're right next to the extractor on this, so I can talk you through. I won't have to wear a mask on this. So we're basically just going to do some light coats and put this white where I need it for the artwork. There you go guys, looks really strange looking at it like that, but that's enough base coat for that side. We'll move on to the other side now. There you go guys, that's the base coat down. I'll just give you a little pan round on that. So we've got the Ford Frozen White. This will look really patchy. I mean, you can see little lines in it, it's patchy, it's hazy, but that's all I need for this artwork. That's more than enough white base coat for me to go off with the artwork. On this image on this side, it's very dark. You've got trees and you've got like a moon sort of setting, like a dark setting. So we'll be dropping a lot of darks on this background, and the main highlighted piece will be this bit where it's a bit whiter. So I'm not worried about any of this overspray around here because all this is going to be painted, the whole thing's going to be painted. And on this side, same again, can look really patchy, but as long as there's enough white down there for me to put some pencil lines in for the artwork, that's more than good enough because I'll be building the colours up on this. But as you can see again, sort of hazy this side and over here. It's another sort of background on this. As you've seen on that picture when I projected it, it's very dark, so you've only got a little bit of highlight on this. So that's more than enough white. And if I need to put more white in, I can do when I start airbrushing. So we're going to let this really cure down now. Give this a good couple of hours. I want this base coat to be solid on here because the next stage will be projecting back up, and then we'll just be penciling round the bits that I need to work from. So yeah, we'll let that go right off. Then I'll set the other table up. We'll get this all set up, all the paint set up in the airbrushes. I'll give you a little run through of what airbrushes I'm going to use. I might even use the new one I picked up today, which is the Eclipse on the side feed, because that, yeah, we'll use that one today. That one, and I'll probably use the Grios PS270 as well, which is a 0.2 setup. So we'll do these pieces of artwork with the Eclipse and a Grios. We've not got to use a micron or anything like that. We'll go in and get these two pieces of artwork done with two basic brushes. So you've not always got to have like the real expensive brush. You can do this style of image with other brushes, it's not a problem. So we'll let this cure and I'll get back to you in a bit. It'll be a little time lapse on the next bit and then we can start painting. I'll see you in a bit, guys. Set up, as you've seen that like time lapse, I'm just buzzing around, setting all the workstation up, so we're good to go. All the artwork's projected, both sides, so that's all done. I'll just show you what I've been up to here. We've got all the artwork penciled in very lightly on this side. This is the side we're going to do first. It's the one with the main knight on the front, and we've got a bit of background. As I said about the white, when we put the white base down, just needed it in certain areas. There's enough white there to work off of. We've got all the paints sorted, so we're using golden high flow acrylics. I've got some high flow medium as well, so if I need to make any transparent, I can make them on the fly as I go along. The airbrushes that I'm using today, we're going to use the one that I picked up that was at the beginning of the video. This is the iWater Eclipse and it's the HP SBS. I think these are a 0.2 or might be a little bit bigger. Not sure, I'll have to check up on that, but we'll use that one and we'll use the Grios PS270. So we'll use that one as well. That's a 0.2. That's a top cup airbrush. So we've got a side cup and a top cup airbrush we're going to use for this. The next stage will be, I'll just sort my reference out. I'll be working from a laptop or I might be working from a tablet, I don't know yet. Depends where I can get it positioned. I think it's going to be a tablet to work off of the guys on this. So yeah, we'll start the artwork, and then I will break the artwork down into intervals, and then I'll talk you through the processes. If I'm doing certain techniques, I'll tell you how to do the techniques, what shields I'll be using, if there's any texture stencils that I need to use on the way along. I'll talk you through this in stages. So we'll aim to do this side in part 3, and then in part 4 we'll spin this round and we'll do the other piece of artwork in part 4, and then I'll take you through the clear coat stages, the gun that I'm going to use, clear coat I'm going to use, and we'll aim for doing the other side and clear coat in part 4. So I will see you in the time lapse, guys, when we start this artwork. See you in a bit. Welcome back. I'm going to grab my coffee in the new Bucket coffee mug that I picked up yesterday. It's great, holds about a litre. I'm going to give you a little talk through on what I've done, a bit about the brush. So we started off, in that time lapse you see me, and it looked like I'm just basically buzzing around. I started off with some real light greys. I started off with a value 3 and I've used a value 4. So I've used these two on this. And I'm basically just going in, and I'm not going for, I'm dropping a little bit of detail in, a little bit of shading, down here are little squiggles. This is like chainmail, all this. So I'm basically just putting little squiggles in, and then I'll start sharpening them up as we go along. You'll see that in the video. So there, what I've put down at the start, I've put down value 3, value 4. I'm just going round, just sort of mapping in the little bits, dropping over the lines where the pencil lines are, and just starting to fill that out. I first picked up the Eclipse. I thought I'd try this because at the beginning of the video I said I was going to use the Eclipse and the PS270. I picked the Eclipse up, dropped a bit of paint in it. Yes, it's a good brush, but the spring on this felt really stiff. I know you can drop this chuck back here inside, you can tilt that, undo that, and that'll take a bit of tension off. That has took a bit of tension off, but I just found using this, I don't know, I'm used to the Micron, which is a side feed. So I put that down and I picked up the PS270, and hands down that wipes the floor with that, hands down. This brush, if you've not used one of these, I'd highly recommend you getting one, guys, because I think this for me is going to be my go-to brush from now on. It's got a really comfortable, the way it's designed, this bit here slopes back, so when you've got it in your hand, it just, for me, that instantly feels comfortable, because that finger there sort of wraps on that bit, then I grab that there and I sort of sit like that with the trigger, and it's just so comfortable. The trigger there slants down, so that just instantly feels nice on your finger. I've been airbrushing this for, say, 20 minutes, and it doesn't feel like you've got an airbrush in your hand. Your hand isn't like aching in any way, your finger doesn't feel stressed, or when you take your finger off the trigger you've not got lines in your skin where you've been pressing hard. It just seems to be really smooth and comfortable. It's handling the paint really well. These two paints that I've used first, these are quite thick, I've not thinned them down, and this is just atomising it brilliantly. I'm going in on dots, just putting a little bit of dot work in, and it's absolutely perfect. When it comes to cleaning, if that's picking that up, you've got a real big, like the hole at the bottom of the cup's really big, you can see the needle, so when you come to clean, you can just undo the back, pull the needle out of the way, and you have got loads of room in that cup to drop a cotton bud in and clean all in the bottom. of that little reservoir at the bottom and clean it out. I dropped a bit of thinner in, blasted it through, slide the needle up, and you are good to go again, quick as, really quick, nice and easy to clean. You've got your air regulator on the front, so you can dial it in. You've got plenty of needle coming out, so when it comes to tip dry, it's just a quick pinch and go, and you're good to go, guys. I really recommend this brush. It's £118. It's the Griot's PS270. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is going to be my go-to brush. So what we'll do is we'll crack on. That's me babbling on about a brush. I just wanted to tell you what it's like, guys. If you're looking for a brush, hit the Griot's up. You will not look back, honestly. And if that's the budget one of the Griot's, which is 118, they do one which is 270, and it's the equivalent to the Micron. I've got to try that, because if that's performing like that and that's the cheap one, I'd hate to think what the other one's going to be like. It's just going to be unbelievable. So yeah, we'll move on to the next stage. That's me waffling on. I'm going to sip a bit of this coffee. I'll capture as much of this as I can on the time lapse for you. If there's any bits I'm using, I think I used some shields in this. The two shields I'm using are just cut old. This was an old fire stencil. This is like a flexible plastic. It's solvent proof. One's got a straight edge. There's a couple of curves on it. And you can go in and you can just sharpen up either way where you need these. Like on a straight or on a little curve or little bits around the eye. So they're great to have. Recommend you getting some of them. You'll see me bouncing through shields. I've also got one of these. I can't think what these are called, but basically it's like an eraser. And this is like I can't think what they're called. I got given this at a custom culture show off a good friend. And you can just go in, as you can see, and you can just knock the paint back to the base coat. That's the beauty of having a solvent base coat, and you're coming off the solvent base coat with water bases paints, because you can just scratch back and you can get your textures in and just knock that paint back dead easy. You can get your highlights where you want them, like that. So you'll see a lot of this. Brilliant bit of kit. If you see one, eBay. I'll find out what they're called and I'll put a little link in at the end of the video on what this is called. I'll find out for you, but brilliant. Use that. You can use a scalpel. You can use erasers, pencil erasers, and just make your textures, put your little lines in, like that. You'll see a lot of that, and I'll just be bouncing through that, dropping a bit of just textures, making it look a little bit more realistic. So I'll press on. I've babbled on long enough. I'll get you on with the time lapse and we'll crack on with this picture. See you in a bit, guys. After that time lapse, I dropped a bit more in. I've been concentrating on that part of the helmet there, the eyes, so that's all in now. I'll just tell you how I've done that. I've been using, on that centerpiece there, I went in with an iridescent copper fine. So I dropped a little bit of that down. Then I've been in with a bit of burnt sienna, raw sienna, little bit of flesh tone that I've had mixed up, which is one of my flesh tones, which is a skin tone 10, and just thin that down a bit, just in that bit where the eyes were. Dropped a little bit of white here on the outside, highlighted that. Went in with a paint pen and just dotted where the little dots are on them, like rivets, them tiny little rivets. just dot the highlights on. Went in with a scalpel for the scratches on the actual helmet here. So just do that and literally just scratch in. Back to the white very lightly. And that's just, it's just building up textures. Take your time, look at your reference, build your textures up. Started putting in the shield. So then what we'll do is we'll start working down here now, get all this in, and then as I said, when we start dropping this background in, because this is darker, this will pop forward more like it does in the picture, and then I can start, because on the actual picture these highlights are a lot whiter. I've just dropped a little bit in just to start building it across, and then when we get the background in I can start popping this highlight out a bit more, and that'll bring that more forward. You've got quite a bit of sharp highlights in this part because that's closer to you on the picture. There'll be a bit more highlight in the shield, a bit more here, sharp line coming down there. So we're just working it. You're probably looking at about another 3 hours on this piece, 3 to 4 hours. You could even spend more, you could spend up to 10 hours on this. Just keep working it and working it, adding more detail. But we'll get to a certain point, I'll work round at that type of finish all over, and I think that'll be more than good enough for this picture, guys. So I'll stick you back on another time lapse and you'll see me working down. If I'm using any other pieces, I'll do another break and I'll talk you through them bits. But that's where we are. I hope that's picking that up. I'll move in just slightly a bit more and you'll be able to see that. So that's that one. There's the one on the screen there, and that's what we're working off there. So I think that's getting there, guys. So yeah, I'll stick you on another time lapse and continue on. See you in a bit. I'm just starting to work down onto the chainmail, and how I'm doing chainmail, when you look at it on the image, it's just tiny little different shades of grey dots and little tiny little white highlights. So I'm going in, dropping a couple of variations of the grey, little lines, little dots, just keep doing little lines, little dots, and then going with the paint pen and do little squiggles all over, following the lines that the chainmail's going in. Always follow the pattern and the way it goes. Don't paint what you think you're painting. Look at your reference and just follow the way the shapes they go. Just keep following along. Little squiggles. Don't look anything when you look at them, but when you stand back, you go about 1 metre back and then look at the image, it looks like chainmail. When you come right, we just see little squiggles, because that's all it is when you look close up on the picture. So you're just working along. This will take some time, just working this piece in here, bits of shading, and you see me keep jumping up a little bit darker, because once these are going in, it starts to change the darks and lights on this when you're looking across over the picture. So you see me bouncing around, dropping a bit more dark here, a little bit more light there, and that's how you work your picture. Don't stay on one spot. Try and work round your image, and then you'll bounce across your tones and things as you're going around your image, and then it'll all sort of come together. So just paint the shapes and the picture will take care of itself. That's all you've got to do. Don't think, oh, I've got to paint an eye, I know how to paint an eye. Just look at that eye, break the eye down, and just paint them shapes. One bit of a dot, bit of a scallop, and just paint the shapes, and that picture will take care of itself. Get your tones right. Build your highlights up. You can drop all your highlights in at the end if you need to. I tend to put a few highlights in as I go along, just to keep them in place, so where they are. And then just, if you if you tend to get a bit of overspray, which will happen, you'll get a bit of overspray over them highlights, you can just knock them back in, bring them back in, drop your paint pen in, your eraser or your scalpel and just scratch them back in, highlight them back up. See, that's a real sharp highlight on there. And to knock that one back in, I would just take that overspray back out and pop that highlight back in. Same as here. There's one here. Drop that back in there, and that is very sharp there. So I'll probably just drop that into the paint pen and just knock them in like that. You don't have to airbrush everything. Everything doesn't have to do with an airbrush. An airbrush is just a tool that gets the paint down. Use every tool that you've got, whether it be paint pen, paintbrush, scalpel, pencil. Use all your tools in your arsenal to get the image down and done. Don't think, oh no, I've got to airbrush this. Everything's got to be done by an airbrush. It's not. You see these amazing pieces of work, you think, and they've gone, this is freehand airbrushed. It's not. Half of these people give it, it's freehand airbrushed. It's not. They're using all the tricks and the tools to get these photorealistic pieces down. It's not all freehand airbrushed. It's erasers, electric erasers, shields, masks. Everything you can use it. It will help you out, guys. So there's a little tip for you. I'll shoot back onto another time lapse, do a bit more, stop again, have a chat, and then just continue like that. So I'll see you in a bit, guys. There you go, guys. There's a little pan round. So we're starting to work, starting to put little squiggles in, things all around on this chainmail. We'll work all this in here, and then come round here, work this, and then get all this piece worked in, and then I can start the background this side coming down here. This will be darks around the top, and then that light's just glaring here. When I do that, we'll start dropping the darks in, and then we can start putting these highlights in more here and pop this forward. But that's what the image is. As you can see on this image here, it's darks all here, which makes this really pop out on that piece of artwork there, and you've got your highlights here. So once them darks go in on this image, it'll pop that forward like it does on the screen there. Right, moving on, I'm going to stick in another time lapse now, and we're going to start working down on this chainmail and then get the bottom part of this image in just here. So I'll stick you on a time lapse. Chipping away at this. It's one of them days where you're trying to get into the zone and it's a bit hard. I've started coming around the bottom of this arm, working the chainmail in. They're just basically black dots, different shades of black dots, and there's a little highlight. We come under the arm there. I've dropped the bottom of the sword, well, the handle of the sword in, put a few darks here. I'm going to start working in this piece next, and then we'll put the reds into the cross there, start coming across and then work this. Then I'm going to put some very light blue tones, just a very light bit of blue in there over that, because you get like your reflections coming down. So that's where we are. Bits that I've been using dark grey mixes, bit of black. I've mixed a bit of my own up, so I've had a bit of the dark grey, mixed a drop of black in with that. Few highlights with the paint pens. Yeah, just keep knocking it backwards and forwards, guys. So we'll get all this in. I'm going to aim to get this done today, because that could just be an hour's work just in here, and then you've probably got another hour's work there. Then you've got to start these bits. So yeah, it does take time. These time lapses just whiz by and it's like ding and it's done. But no, this does take time, guys. So I'm going to get some coffee and I'll stick you back on a time lapse. Break. I've gone in and done the chainmail. That's as far as I'm going to go on that. Probably a few more little highlights here and there, but I think that's good enough as a picture as you're standing sort of this distance away. That's more than good enough. We've dropped the red in on the top there. A few more little sharp highlights to put in. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start concentrating on the background, start dropping these darks in, and then I can gauge this, how far I've got to pull this forward with the highlights once I get these darks in the background. So in the next time lapse, you'll see me working in these pieces here. These are like black silhouettes, and then we've got some clouds in the background, and I'll just cloud and darken this top edge up here. But that's where we are, that's where we're up to, guys. Just thought I'd give you another little pause, little talk through on where I am. I've been using the hand shields again. We used a bit of red for that, and then I mixed a bit of that red with some shading grey and just dulled it down a bit just to put the shadows in on that piece there. We've got a few more darks to go in here. I've got this band, this like leather type strap to go round, so we'll drop that in next. I'll get that in, finish that, drop these darks in over here again, and then we can start working this background. You start seeing things as you're working across an image, because I'm flitting about and going round it like that. You then home in on another piece and go, ah, that needs doing, and then you'll move to another piece. Oh, that bit there. I mean, yes, you could start working it, say from here, work that bit, and work down and complete them pieces. But I always like to jump about the picture and then just start bringing it together bit by bit. That's how I work. So yeah, I'll stick on another time lapse and we'll start getting the background in, get these bits in, and then we can call this piece done. See you in a bit, guys.
That's that finished side. I hope you caught enough in the time lapse. We've gone in with the darks on the background, we've put the silhouettes in, a few more highlights in here and there, and yeah, that's the finished piece, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll give you a little pan around with the camera in a minute, because I don't know how that's picking it up from there to there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we're going to move on to part 4, which will be the other piece of artwork to this trailer. So see you in the next one, guys.